The Thunder have just won the NBA championship, but what happens next? Over the course of the following 10 seasons, the NBA is bound to look totally different than what we know it as now, with familiar faces and some not so familiar threads down the line, and some new faces re-establishing the legacy behind some iconic jerseys. All starting in 2025, with some big names on the move during the offseason, shaking up the league as we know it, with some new rookies taking the league by storm as well, like Cooper Flag, who was winning the Rookie of the Year award as part of the Dallas Mavericks, one of the best teams in the NBA this season, only outdone by 3 teams, including the Knicks, who were taking advantage of the wide open East, landing the Eastern Conference best record. Then we'd also see a two-way tie in the West ahead of the Mavericks, one being the Minnesota Timberwolves, led by Ant-Man, winning 58 games this season, and the other being the home of this season's most valuable player. Wemby and his Spurs were one of the hottest teams in the league, finally healthy, and with key rookie Dylan Harper added into the mix, San Antonio was one of the most exciting teams of the year. That is until the trade deadline, where we'd have a blockbuster trade sending John Morant to join Joel Embiid in Philly. After a slow start to the season awaiting Embiid's return, the Sixers sank in the standings, but after adding Ja, they now had one of the most exciting guard and big duos in the entire league. Yet that wouldn't make much of a difference come the postseason, where they were facing off against a hungry Cavaliers team, who was crushing their title hopes, sweeping them easily in round 1, and they were also sweeping the Raptors in the following round, all before capping off an outrageous run against the New York Knicks, with yet another sweep, earning their first trip to the finals since LeBron took them in 2018. But their final hurdle was a matchup with the Wolves and Anthony Edwards, who, for context, just got done upsetting the MVP of the league in the Western Conference Finals. However, that wasn't helping him here. Cleveland's all-time great run was continuing, with every player on the court playing their part to bring the Cavaliers' championship hopes to life, winning it all in a gentleman's sweep, closing out their run with only one loss throughout the playoffs. And the last thing worth talking about this year was LeBron officially retiring from the NBA, closing out one of the greatest sagas in sports history, which could actually be opening up the door for the next big era, being Luka Doncic, who would take full advantage of the extra touches now without King James, elevating his points per night above 30 a night, while nearly averaging a triple-double in the season, which was enough to take home the honors as this year's MVP. And the trend of the next era post-LeBron would be continuing with this year's draft class, as the Chicago Bulls take Cameron Boozer with a second pick in the 2026 draft in hopes that he could be the one to revive this team's illustrious history, which would be off to a good start, as he plays a huge part in the Bulls catapulting up to the 3rd seed in the East, as the budding star is titled as the Rookie of the Year. But for now, as we head into the 2027 finals, none of that mattered, because instead, all eyes were on the rematch of last year's finals, as Ant-Man and Donovan Mitchell prepared to go at one another yet again. And the phrase going at one another may be an understatement, kicking off the series in Game 1 with both stars erupting for their season highs at just the right time, taking turns impressing fans with highlights after highlights, but in the end, only one could win the game, and it would be Cleveland starting the series off with the win. But Edwards wasn't going to let this be a repeat of last year.
Both go down. 5 on 3. Oh! Anthony Edwards! That's a man's jam!
He was taking full control in the following games of this series, not letting up a bit after his massive Game 1, averaging over 37 points a night in the finals, forcing his team to win after win, with Cleveland having no answer to shut him down. And it was only a matter of time before he and his Wolves would get their revenge.
And the Minnesota Timberwolves have done it. They are the NBA champions.
So as the Wolves win their first franchise ring, it is now 9 seasons in a row with a different team winning it all, which now begs the question if the Wolves can get the first repeat since 2018. We'll find out soon enough, but one thing's for sure is that the Dallas Mavericks will surely give them a run for their money, because even though in round 1 against the Suns, who traded Booker for Fox and picks this season, would have a 3-0 lead, the Mavs were about to make NBA history, backed by a big 3 of not only Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, but now a full-fledged all-star Cooper Flag. The Mavericks were clawing back into the series, game by game, all until they knotted everything up, and the media was all over the headline, as Dallas comes out on their home court. With their fans ready to celebrate this major accomplishment, they will put the nail in the coffin, hanging on in the midst of a challenge never before overcome in NBA history. I guess the 3-0 comeback had to happen one day, so why not this year? This could be a historic run for the Dallas Mavericks. which was looking to be the case, as ironically in the second round, they faced off against Luka Doncic and easily defeat him and his Lakers, justifying the trade made a few years ago. And then in the conference finals against the defending champions, they were shutting down any chance of a possible repeat, putting their toughest challenge of the postseason behind them after 6 games, as they go on to the NBA Finals, where they'd crush Banchero's Orlando Magic, as the Luka trade ultimately pays off, with Cooper Flagg being crowned the Finals MVP in just his 3rd season in the NBA. And while for Flagg, his career was just getting started after winning his first ring, for others it would be their last season, as some of the all-time greats retire from the game and have their numbers lifted into their franchise's rafters, closing out a chapter of NBA history. Which makes this the perfect time to check in on some of the new stars of the current era. Of course, Wemby was viewed as one of the top players in the league, winning multiple MVPs. Cade Cunningham has come out of nowhere as one of the best scorers in the entire NBA, trailing only behind Paolo Banchero, who has kept the Magic in position to contend for a while now. And of course, we have Anthony Edwards, who we've seen plenty of so far, but we haven't talked much about his transition to becoming the face of the NBA, holding the spot for the most jersey sales since LeBron's retirement, with media coverage slowly shifting their focus to him. But we'd also have some veteran stars worth talking about as well, with a lot of different looks around the league. Most notably this year was the Knicks acquisition of Zion Williamson, who was having a revitalization of his career after finally moving on from New Orleans, averaging his most points since his sophomore season of his career, helping New York land the 2nd seed this year with 58 wins, which was a stark contrast compared to another member of the 2019 draft who was taking on a new opportunity in his career. Ja Morant was now a member of the Bucks, teaming up with not only Giannis, but also Karl Anthony Towns, creating a terrifying big three on paper, but in reality, the paint-focused trio would face challenges, failing to even make the playoffs in their first season together. But out west, there would be a paint-focused offense that would absolutely work. Joel Embiid was now a member of the Denver Nuggets, in a move that would shock the world, shipping out Jamal Murray and multiple picks to create a twin tower dynamic with 2 of the best centers in basketball. And unlike Milwaukee, this tandem was working wonders, with Jokic and Embiid pairing perfectly together, which would set the table for an epic clash come the Western Conference Finals against the Timberwolves, who paired Tyrese Maxey alongside Anthony Edwards, giving us a duel between the best backcourt and best frontcourt in the league. But it won't tip off just yet, because out east we were also having another intense conference finals, with the new look Knicks facing this season's MVP, the 3rd-year star Cameron Boozer and his Bulls, who was the main driving force in Chicago, taking on the majority of the workload for his team, doing everything on both ends of the court, surrounded mostly by the cast we know the Bulls as today in real life. Kobe White had developed into a complete knockdown shooter from beyond the arc, Josh Giddey was still the PG running their high-paced offense, and Mattis Buzelis has developed into a borderline all-star. But the thing was, New York was just as deep with talented players, still led by Jalen Brunson at point, now teamed up with Zion like we mentioned earlier, and rounded out with Jalen Green, who's bounced around from teams over the last couple seasons, which would build out the supporting cast for New York's #1 option, AJ Dibansa, who has developed into an all-NBA player and would be a suitable opponent for Cameron Boozer. So with both teams so closely matched, each having a well-rounded deep roster, there was no surprise that this thing couldn't be decided after 6 games, setting us up for a final Game 7. Taking place in Chicago, where this year's Eastern Conference champ would be decided, which would all boil down to who wants it more, because with only minutes left in the game and Chicago preparing to inbound the ball late, the end results could still go either way. This is our first close playoff game of the simulation. The Bulls up by 1, A-Cuff, the pull-up jumper hits the rattle home over Jalen Brunson, extends the lead to 3 over New York. Jalen Green with it now. The Knicks are trying to make it to an NBA Finals appearance. Jalen Green, the pull-up 3 to tie it. Jalen Green, what a shot. He has been a journeyman lately, changing teams every season, but he's getting it done big here for the Knicks in Game 7. A-Cuff again, driving him right past Brunson. Unbelievable move with the finish. New York on the other end, Jalen Green with it now, probably feeling after the shot, feeling a little too much, maybe a heat check. Okongwu with the rebound, they get it to Essengay. He's got the ball now. They're kicking it down low to Boozer, their MVP. It's off though. Zion with the rebound. The big acquisition for New York, pushing them to the 2nd seed this year. Jalen Green driving into a packed paint. Jalen Brunson with it now. They get it to Dybantsa, their star. Dybantsa over Boozer. It's off his own board to pump a series of fakes. It's denied at the rim. Boozer pushing up forward to Kobe White, trying to extend the lead. Back to Boozer. Delay. It's off. Neither team can score here. 60 seconds left in the game. Jalen Brunson. Jalen Green again for the lead. That one's off. They're just going back and forth. They're not slowing down at all. Kobe White with it now. Jalen Green guarding him. They get it to Okongwu with the smaller Jalen Brunson. What a move. I don't think I breathed for about a minute straight. Jalen Green with it now. No longer has a Gatorade cup. Jalen Brunson trying to get open desperately, but it's Green with the ball. Kobe wanted him. He's getting the screen here. Jalen Green is going to be another pull-up three. No, this time to the paint. All the way for the lay. Just over 30 seconds left in the game. The Knicks don't need to foul. They can get a stop here. Chicago driving in A-cuff. The pump. Brunson is there. Kobe White with the basketball now. Kobe sizing up Green. Kobe, his pull three. It's off. The Knicks the board. They're not going to use the timeout. They're just playing. Dybantsa to Zion. They're slowing it down. Jalen Green has the ball again. They're trusting Jalen Green. Not a good shot. It's off. It's off. Why would he shoot that? But the Knicks have a chance. Kobe White has to miss one of these free throws. He made the first. Jalen Green hit 1-3, and all of a sudden he thought he was prime MJ. But Kobe does miss. They have hope. Let's see what New York drew up coming out of the timeout. They needed 3 to tie. They go to Brunson. Inbound for the 2. Smith for the 3 and a tie. It's off. Chicago wins their first finals appearance since Michael Jordan. So now we take our focus back to the West to determine Chicago's opponent, and we were about to find out very quickly. Because even though Embiid has finally overcome the conference finals memes, he may just never overcome the new NBA finals memes, as Anthony Edwards leads the charge to a full-blown sweep of Denver, earning his 3rd trip to the finals in the last 4 seasons. But his finals experience may not have given him an advantage as you'd expect, because the Bulls are starting off this championship series scorching hot, with Cameron averaging 35 a game, taking advantage of the Wolves' lacking interior defense, getting his group within 2 more wins of their first title since Jordan. All until Jordan's estranged son would turn up the heat another octave. Just like we've seen him do in the past against Cleveland, Ant would fire off 4 near-perfect games in a row, completely flipping the script and landing his 2nd career NBA championship. So far, none of the finals have really been that close or exciting, so hopefully that can change soon. But for now, we do have a major change happening next season, which would be the NBA announcing an expansion, bringing back the Seattle Sonics and unveiling the brand new Las Vegas Outlaws. But unfortunately for Vegas, the team was the worst in the league after the expansion draft, while the Sonics, on the other hand, were slightly better after signing LaMelo Ball to a max contract, but still ultimately fell to the 14th seed. Otherwise, the rest of the season wasn't much to talk about until the finals, where Wemby would finally make it out of the West for the first time after enduring 3 Game 7s against Booker's Jazz, Edwards' Wolves, and SGA's Thunder, only to make it here against the Bulls and have their easiest series of the year, ending this in a sweep for Wemby's first ring, continuing the trend of anticlimactic finals, yet again crushing the Bulls after making it so close to the finish line, which would force Boozer to question his future with this team. And as a free agent the following year, one of the league's best was on the move, joining one of the new expansion teams, the Seattle Supersonics, pairing alongside a star playmaker LaMelo Ball, which would overnight become the most talked about duo in the NBA. And for good reason, because no other team had an answer, and the only reason they weren't instant title favorites was that they lacked a supporting cast, dropping to the 11th seed, but their time would surely come soon enough. But Boozer wasn't the only star shaking up the league, with Luka Doncic moving out to Phoenix, landing the 10th seed in the West, and Giannis would go to LA, apparently also making a mistake, landing the 14th seed, which was signaling a transition to well-rounded teams finding the most success. Because in the West, even though they didn't have a single All-NBA player, the Rockets, led by Amen Thompson and Alperen Sengun, were landing the top record in the conference after building a supporting cast of near all-stars, with 8 players scoring in double digits, with Thompson 16 a night leading the team. Similarly in the East, their top team would be the Brooklyn Nets, who didn't have a single all-star on the team, but were rounded out with plenty of young talent from recent drafts who would have enough in the conference final to sweep the Knicks and this year's MVP Dybantsa, setting up a very random matchup in the finals between the Nets and Houston, where the trend would yet again continue with one team completely outclassing the other in the championship round. As Brooklyn wins their franchise's first ever ring, and we begin to get so deep into the sim that nothing is remotely close to what we know, but with so much changing after the expansion, let's take a quick look around the league. A lot has changed in the league after the expansion. Had an expansion draft, so a lot of teams' players changed, and this is a quick look at some of the best players in the league now a few years into the future. SGA is the highest overall. Dybantsa has been really good. He's been making the Knicks very competitive the last several years. Jokic is still hanging in there as one of the better players in the league at 36. Evan Mobley has been quietly one of the best players in the league, even though the Cavs haven't had a lot of success. And as you can see, a lot of these other guys as well, very good. The Celtics surprisingly have 295 overalls and are still terrible. I don't think they've made the playoffs in a couple of years, but there's a lot of talented players. As you can see, these overalls are through the roof. And to give you an idea of some of the best teams in the league, here's the standings this past season that we just watched. The Spurs have been very good for a long time, but I've really struggled to have a lot of success. The Outlaws are getting a little bit better. Sonics are terrible. Kings have been awful this entire sim. If you're a Kings fan, I'm really sorry. I don't think they've gotten better than like the 13th seed. In the Eastern Conference, even after losing Cameron Boozer, the Bulls are still actually doing pretty good. The Knicks are very good. The Pacers are still pretty good with Tyrese Halliburton still at the helm of that roster. The Pistons with Kate Cunningham they've been rebuilding for years, trying to get somewhere. And of course, we have the Orlando Magic at the very bottom, with Paolo still sticking out with them. And throughout the league, you see teams like this without any real superstar that are some of the best teams in the league. The Warriors are one of the top standings in the West, and they just have a lot of really good players. And the way the NBA has been playing out recently, last few seasons, anyone can win any year, so it's anybody's game going forward. So as we go into the 2032 season, with teams recognizing how tight the championship window was as of late, the top teams were scrambling to win now, with most notably the Knicks, who have been contenders for a while now. However, now could be the MVP Dybantsa's best chance for a ring, with his rival Boozer on a still developing Sonics roster. With Jalen Brunson entering his late 30s, the Knicks would go all in to win it this year, which could be paying off, because after a long time coming, they'd find themselves in their first finals since the 90s, where they were up against a Blazers team that was taking the recent popular approach of pairing together multiple high-level players as opposed to any single focal point. But while this formula has worked in recent history, it wouldn't be here, with the Knicks taking the classic star approach, being one step ahead of Portland from start to finish, with the MVP of the league taking full advantage of his window for a title and finally bringing the Larry O'Brien home to the city of New York, sweeping the Portland Trail Blazers, continuing the parity in the league with no repeat champions in 14 seasons now. But that could all be about to change, because back out west, the Sonics had a completely revamped look, not only adding big man Sar, but they'd also have Dyson Daniels come back from injury, and he was by far the best wing defender in the league now and an elite shooter. And after pairing that alongside a still improving Boozer and LaMelo Ball, it would be no surprise that 8 months later, the Sonics were being crowned the champion, with Boozer finally winning a ring. And so far in this simulation, no team has been able to go back to back. But Seattle was easily good enough to start a dynasty, which we'd be seeing if they could pull it off the very next season, back in the finals, now facing off against Cade Cunningham and his Pistons. Detroit has been building towards this moment ever since 2026, making trades, drafting players, pick swaps, looking for talent in free agency, and now they finally had their best roster to date. Not only was it Cade, but they also had Giannis, albeit he was 38 years old, but still a dominant star. Additionally, they even added Bam Adebayo to the mix, a good piece on both ends of the floor. So with the league's leading scorer, Cade Cunningham, shooting the lights out of the ball, you may think the Sonics run was done for, but you'd be incredibly wrong, because Seattle still had an incredible roster themselves, fighting back just as hard, forcing this series to a Game 7, finally giving us a close finals, and this last match would go down to the wire. We finally have a close finals, a Game 7 between Seattle and Detroit. A lot at stake here. The Pistons trying to win their first championship since 04. LaMelo, the pull-up, Quick shot, that's off. Seattle is trying to be the first repeat since the Warriors in 2018. So both sides have something they're fighting for. Cade Cunningham, he drives it. A tough reverse layup is off. Cameron Boozer with the ball now. Fast-paced final moments of this game. LaMelo Ball with the ball again. Giannis guarding him. LaMelo to pull up Jay for the lead. It's off. Boozer knocks it out of Bio with the rebound. Williams off to the races. On the break, his lay. It's good. He puts Detroit up by 3. The Sonics still have a lot of time to fight back here. The expansion team trying to start a dynasty here in the mid-2030s. Vassell with the screen here. Vassell to pull a 3 to tie the game. Vassell hits it. Cade Cunningham in Detroit now on the other end. He blows right by LaMelo. Slams it in to get Detroit the lead right back. The Supersonics with it now. LaMelo Ball behind the back move. The two guards going at one another. They go to Cameron Boozer, the team's best player by a landslide. Boozer to pull up deep 2. It's off. Jacobson knocks it, but Peavy gets the rebound. On the fast break, they find Antetokounmpo. The 38-year-old gets the knot at the rim. He's swatted. Daniels, ball on the break. LaMelo Ball, he finds Vassell again. Vassell ties it up once more. A huge Game 7 by Vassell. Not who you would expect with as much talent in Seattle, but he's the one coming in right now. Cade Cunningham! Oh, I thought he was about to hit it the quick trigger. Seattle now has a chance to take the lead. Boozer on the drive. Ball for 3. It's off. It's off out of bounds. Board again. Giannis on the fast break. Boozer picks him up. They go to Cade, and once again, Cade over LaMelo. Cade is off again. LaMelo Ball with the ball now, though. In transition for Seattle. They're slowing it down. 25 seconds left in the game. 16 seconds left on the shot clock. LaMelo Ball sizing up Cade Cunningham, the scoring leader for the season. LaMelo driving it in. Cade is there. Boozer again to pull up over Giannis. That one is off. The Pistons now have an opportunity to win the game right here. Giannis on the break. Giannis loses the ball. He finds Cade. He finds Giannis. The 3. It's off target. Timeout. This Game 7 hasn't disappointed. What a sequence. Seattle with a chance, though, off the inbound. 1.7 left to win the title here at the buzzer. On the inbound, LaMelo in the corner for the title. He got it! LaMelo Ball hits it! Unbelievable! Possibly the greatest shot in NBA history. Wow! And now the Sonics complete the repeat, finally ending the stretch of one-and-done runs, only to continue that in 2035, completing the first three-peat since Kobe and Shaq, and starting a possible dynasty here in Seattle, but only time will tell. The Sonics have completed the three-peat, way to close off this 10-year sim. And before we head out, I just want to look back at some of the changes in NBA history, some of the point totals, some of the records that have been broken over the last 10 years. And why not start off with the guys retiring this year? These are some faces that we know in real life today as some of the best players in basketball, and they're closing out their careers here in 2035. As far as point totals, LeBron stands high as the #1 guy, 44,000. The closest to get to him was Kevin Durant. Giannis is right there. Jokic is actually at 8. Curry's at 9. But no one was even close to touching Bron. But staying on the subject of points, we did, however, have one of the greatest playoff games of all time. Wembenyama, 61 points in the playoffs, 2 shy behind MJ for the all-time record. Anthony Edwards had a game with 58 in 2027 as well. Same year as Wemby. They were going off that year. As far as threes are concerned, Steph still reigns supreme here with 5,045. Quentin Grimes is the closest in second place with 4,046. Luka, who's still in the league, is at 3,600. He'll probably break 4,000. But I don't think anyone's touching Steph Curry anytime soon. He played until he was like 42, by the way. For rebounds, Jokic did crack the top 5. I think he's got to go down as the greatest center of all time. We didn't see any more finals from him, but I mean, just an insane career. He just retired last season. And that's not where it ends for Jokic either. Again, assists, top 5 in assists. He's top 10 in points, top 5 in rebounds, and top 5 in assists. That could honestly be the greatest player of all time if he had more rings. Other than that, there's nothing really too crazy. Things like most 40-point games. None of these new players that we've been introduced to have really cracked this list yet. But again, a lot of them haven't had that opportunity. They haven't been in the league long enough. Guys like Cameron Boozer, he's only in year like 7. So you give him another 10 years in his career, and he absolutely could probably break some of these records. And speaking of guys that could break records, let's go ahead and look at the top players in the league right now. A lot of these guys Personally, I don't know who they are. These are like middle schoolers, except for Wemby, of course. We know Wemby. We're familiar with Cameron Boozer. That band, so we talked about a lot. Cade Cunningham has been great this entire simulation, and SJ is still doing good at 37 years old. But a lot of other guys like Cooper Flagg and then a bunch of other names that you may or may not know have all become very good, and the league is truly stacked. There's a lot of mid to high 90 overalls. That's 2K Sims for you. Oh, Jokic, I guess he didn't retire. He did a farewell tour, but I guess he pump faked us. He's still playing. 40 years old, hasn't retired yet. He's still going. And moving right along into awards, we have MVPs. Cameron Mercer just won it for the Timberwolves. Maybe the future of the league moving forward. He's in like year 5 or 6, I want to say. Cameron Boozer's name is on here a lot. Dibance's name is on here a lot. Wembanyama, at the start of this 10-year sim, was winning MVPs left and right. He racked in 4 of those. And speaking of racking in a lot, Wembanyama won almost every single defensive player of the year in this stretch, except for 2. He lost in 2034 to Dybantsa, and then I want to say 2028 to Evan Mobley, but for some reason it glitched. Same thing with 2025. Evan Mobley's name is not here. He won this award, but it's on Dyson Daniels. I don't know what 2K's got going on, but Wemby has 8 defensive player of the years, and he's 31. There's no signs of slowing down. He's probably going to get a few more. Easily the best defensive player to ever play the sport. If you're interested in the Rookie of the Year names, here these are. A lot of them you may or may not recognize. Some of them are even 2K generated guys that you definitely do not know. I think it's interesting though, 2 years in a row, a Wilson won. I wonder if that's ever happened in NBA history before. The same first name wins Rookie of the Year, or any award for that matter, 2 years in a row. Pretty interesting. 6th man of the year. Some of these are pretty familiar actually. Edgecombe, of course, was a young player, 2nd year here in 2027. Barrett won it. Scoot Henderson, he played a 6th man role, never really got going in his career. Tyrese Maxey moved down to a 6th man in 2031. And here's something kind of interesting that I did not mention at all throughout this video, and that's the clutch player of the year. We have some familiar names winning it. Koa Pete, of course, we know. Luka won it once. Cooper Flagg got it. Anthony Edwards. Cade Cunningham was winning it 2 years in a row. Like I said, Cade, we didn't talk about him a ton in this video, but he was really good. His team wasn't great, but Cade himself was absolutely insane in this simulation. And then lastly, if for some reason you're really into coaches, coach of the year. Here's the coach of the years in the past 10 seasons. If you wanted to see who wins that, Billy Donovan winning too. I can't believe that as a Bulls fan. And then lastly, we have the past champions, which you guys did actually see every single one of these. So if you just want a refresher of everything that happened here at the final recap of the video, here it is. All the finals MVPs, all the champions of the last 10 years. And then I think the last thing worth showing as we close this video is the Hall of Famers. So I'll scroll through this. You guys can look at this if you'd like as we wrap up this video. Let me know what you think of the next 10 years of the NBA. How do you see the 10 years following that changing? As a matter of fact, also let me know, how do you see the 10 years from today in real life to 2035? Do you think this is accurate? Do you think things will play out a little differently? What are you excited for in the next 10 years? What players? Who do you think is going to be the next big superstars? Again, I hope you guys enjoyed. And a lot of times I don't have this one-on-one conversation with you guys, but truly, thank you to everyone that watches the videos. I hope you guys enjoy. I have a blast making them. And I just hope that you guys can enjoy some of these scenarios, these simulations that I create. Thank you guys for watching. And consider watching this video next. There's going to be something on the screen. I don't know what it is, but just go ahead and click it.